our favourite time of the week to talk to our favourite person in the world. You know who it is. It's Megyn Kelly. How are you, rock star?
I just want to start by noting that I'm white and I'm straight and a woman. Just FYI, I'm white, straight, cis, and a woman. That'll come up later. Just FYI.
Really important. And don't forget astronaut as well. But yes, skin colour, most important of all. We get to it in a second. So, President Trump wants to improve the White House. So, what's he done? A flagpole in the front yard, a flagpole in the backyard. He's turned the Rose Garden. He's put down a patio so he can have some outdoor barbecues. And now he wants to build a ballroom. He's paying for all this, by the way, but the left's brains pop, pop, pop.
I think it's awesome. I feel like, why didn't we have a ballroom before? I actually didn't really know that. I've been in the White House a bunch of times, but I've never had free reign of the place. So it's not like you just walk around and check out every single room. But yeah, there's no ballroom, which is weird. Like, it's where the president entertains and hosts state dinners and so on. Like, why wouldn't you have a ballroom where you could have a band, you could have dancing, you could have a large number of people there for some sort of a ceremony? I mean, it makes perfect sense to me. And having just gone to the Rose Garden, the newly revamped Rose Garden, I was there less than 2 weeks ago. It was stunning. It was absolutely beautiful what he did out there. And, people are like, but the roses. Well, who cares about the roses? There are a lot of flowers on the White House grounds. They don't have to be in that particular spot. That spot is right sort of ensconced in the middle of the White House itself. So you've got, actual White House walls on two sides of you and then two sides of open air. And he just put down a patio, a very nice, classily done patio, where the president can stand outside and host. This week it was a Senate meeting. Last week it was the Presidential Medal of Freedom for Charlie Kirk. And it's an absolutely stunning spot with the sun beaming down on you. This is a spot a president would actually now use. Unlike the Rose Garden, which is like, you might be able to take a look at it from inside, but you wouldn't, like, there's not a ton of footage of presidents going out and walking around the Rose Garden unless they were looking to make a photo op. So this is much more functional and gorgeous and opens up the White House in yet another way to a bunch more people. So look, they didn't complain when Obama did not only his basketball court that he added, but he did some 4-year reno to the White House that cost something like $380 million during his first term. President Taft redid the entire White House. It was like a gut rehab from the inside out. We've had the bowling alley was put in by a former president. All these things have been added. It's just when Trump wants to add one room, a ballroom, people decide to melt down because they can't stand him. It's their TDS. I guarantee you the next president will not tear down the ballroom, even though some lunatics are already saying, we should do that. We can tear it. Why would you tear down a positive addition that actually could make the place super functional for every president from here forward?
Yeah, that's the thing. They want to pretend that Trump is a historical aberration. And what is doing their heads in is that there is going to be physical reminders that he is a historic president. Somebody who changed the country, good or bad, your opinion, but certainly changed modern politics and therefore the White House as well. And speaking about White Houses, can we speak about the former Joe Biden press secretary, Karine Jean-Pierre? She was a terrible White House spokesperson. She had to read all of the time. But now she's got a book out. She's promoting it. And she's not a Democrat anymore. She's independent.
All she is saying in these interviews is, I'm black and I'm queer. I'm black. I'm a black woman. And I'm queer, too. Queer. She keeps mentioning that. Like, why do you, what lesbian just keeps calling herself queer? It's weird. What is that? Like, isn't queer for the sort of like mildly undecided? I don't even know what it is. It's an unnecessary letter. LGB. We all get that. They're divorced from the QT because those things have totally different agendas. LGB we get. I think she's L. Why doesn't she just say she's L? Why does she have to put the Q in there? Queer. And by the way, the LGBTQ community will tell you that the Q also stands for queer and questioning, neither of which should get its own letter. So she really wants you to know that she's black and she's queer and also an immigrant and she's the trifecta. And of course, we're all sitting back here like, we know. And we're white and we're blonde and we're women and we're men. Like, we just don't all run around talking about it all the time. This is the least interesting stuff about us. But it's the only thing she's got to offer for herself. That's, of course, the reason she was offered this position. We all know that. It's the reason Kamala Harris was offered the vice presidential role. It's the reason Ketanji Brown Jackson is on the U.S. Supreme Court. It's humiliating. You should be humiliated about that fact. that that's the reason. If I were in her position, I'd be downplayed. I'd be never mentioning it again. I'd be talking about, I don't know, where I went to college or what interesting thing I did in the White House. But she's so proud to tell you how black she is and how queer she is, because she realizes with her half of the aisle, it's real currency. It actually will get people to genuflect in front of her and bend the knee. That's how pathetic they all are. Now, on the subject of the book, she's still a lying liar who lies. She calls herself an independent. Why? She's very mad at the Democrat Party for not backing Joe Biden all the way through to the presidential election. What a farce. She was part of the cover-up. She knows damn well he couldn't have done it. She was part of the reason that they had to scramble to replace him in, June, July of 2024. But the lying as she's promoting this book about how she had no idea, she didn't see him on the plane ride over to the debate, so she just wasn't near him, as if it was just a one-night thing and she just missed it in the lead up. And then secondly, she's getting guff from Democrats for being such a turncoat. And the subtitle of the book is It's Independent, an insider's look at the White House. So people are giving her a hard time, like, you're such a turncoat. The Democrat Party made you. The only reason people know your name is because of this party you're ripping on. Why would you betray, like the Bidens too, by giving the insider's account of the White House? And she actually is peddling the lie that she's talking about the Trump White House. That's how dumb she is, Paul. She's so dumb. It's like when your kid comes downstairs with the blanket over his head and he thinks because he can't see you, you can't see him, and you all play along. I mean, that's fine when they're two. But this woman is a grown adult, and she actually is too stupid to realize we all know that's a lie. What do you mean? Why would you subtitle your book An Insider's Look at the Trump White House? Which, by the way, makes no sense because you have no insider's perspective on that whatsoever. So I don't know who's buying this book. Probably not many people. And I guess my only thought on it is it's been good for the laughs on the identity politics reminder.
Now, I too have watched some of these interviews that she's done, and, she's getting the softballs on The View, but it feels like even in the lefty places, they're running out of things to ask her because there's nothing to ask her.
Because she already put up her force field of black and queer, black and queer. It's a force field. You're not allowed to ask tough questions. You can't probe her on her stupidity because in their world, that makes you a racist, right? Like, it's actually what they're actually doing is racist, not asking questions because they think this black queer person can't handle them. P.S. It's not her skin color or her sexuality. It's her stupidity. It's the 2 brain cells she needs just to make it to moron IQ. So that's why they pussyfoot around it. If it were a white male, even as a Democrat, they would go harder on him. And certainly a white male Republican like a Sean Spicer would be getting his jugular handed to him, even by the ladies of The View. But it's such a diminishment of her, the way they treat her. They know she can't handle it. And meantime, in her book, she writes about The View like it was, I don't know. I mean, like a seat at the royal palace with the king and queen. She's like, Whoopi gave me her cell phone number. Whoopi. And then she's like, Sarah Haynes gave me a hug. Sunny Hostin told me I do a great job. It was literally the way like a 12-year-old would write in her diary about paying a visit to a set like that or to any important people who gave the person perfunctory, nice commentary as a parting salutation. But the person took it all to heart like it meant something, like, no, I didn't really care how you were, and I wasn't actually hoping to see you again soon. Those are just parting salutations that we do in polite society. The fact that she wrote them down and put them in her book as like, they love me and I think I'm getting a job at The View. That's what she was really trying to say. And that's really what her appearance there was all about. And arguably this entire book, because there is no dumber place in all of television where, she with her minuscule little intellect might actually fit right in.
Now, finally, we've all got people in our lives. They're about to make a mistake. We know it. They've met the wrong person. They get serious with that person. They move in with that person. Well, that's how I feel about New York City. I love it. I got married there. I know you used to live there. They're about to elect this ridiculous far-left mayor. The soft on crime stuff is going to get someone killed, but they're going to do it anyway, aren't they, mate?
This is such a depressing story. We're either going to wind up with a Muslim soft on crime guy who wants to send some sort of social worker to domestic violence calls. That's going to work out really well for abused women, who is actually arm in arm with a known terror supporter, calling Mamdani is this man a pillar of the New York community. Okay. Or a sex pest killer of elderly people who then lied about it while on the taxpayer's dime having his staff write some vainglorious book about him. Those are the least of Andrew Cuomo's problems. He also thinks Republicans should leave New York if they're pro-Second Amendment gun rights and if they're pro-life when it comes to opposing the murder of little babies in the womb. So those are really our choices. The Republican running has zero chance. Any Republican would have zero chance, but Curtis Lewa really has zero chance because he's not like a buttoned up businessman who New Yorkers could potentially trust to at least save the economy in the way a Bloomberg was. He's the, guardian angel who we appreciate for their protections on the subway. They're kind of like, not exactly vigilante types, but they patrol the subway and the streets of New York on their own. They're not actual law enforcement to try to make people feel safer and sort of send a message, which I like, appreciate that, but it's not going to get you elected mayor of New York. So he won't drop out, and I understand why, but all we're left with are those other two. And now I've got to choose between the guy who wants me to leave New York because of my right-wing politics or the guy who wants to literally embrace and thinks is a pillar of the community, a terror-loving imam running one of the biggest mosques here. So I guess I'll go with the guy who hates me and wants me to leave New York as opposed to the guy who hangs out with the person who might want to kill me. I think that's basically where I'm landing, but I'm not so thrilled with my choices, Paul.